Going golden now, folks. We're going to be live in like 2, 1. Here we go. We are rolling. Welcome to the trial edition, I guess, if you will, of the Packers, Packers-Bears film breakdown. I'm pretty new to all this technology and stuff, and especially when we're trying to figure out how to go live and how to stream stuff and stuff. So I appreciate your forgiveness here. We're going to actually try to take a look as best we can at a couple of plays that I have queued up from the game last Sunday, Bears-Packers, and just some really interesting things that I found and things that I can take you through. For any and all of those interested, if you want, please feel free to, hey, what's up, Travis? Please feel free to throw something in the comments if you want to see questions and have an idea on stuff like that, if you have things that you want to see. Otherwise, I've got a couple of different plays queued up that just kind of caught my eye. So I'll roll through those first. And then obviously if you have questions, we'll try to roll through and take a look at them. The first thing that really caught my eye was the MVS touchdown, and this is why the Packers are just so good. Again, for those who don't know, I'm not a Packer fan at all, but I'm really starting to fall in love with their offense as a fan of really, really good football. So one of the things that they do so very well is being so multiple in their formations out of the same personnel packages. And what this does, number one, is when defenses try to substitute to meet those different formations, when the Packers don't actually substitute, they just get to a different formation out of the personnel that they have on the field. The defense has to make sure if they want to substitute that there's no stoppage. They have to get a dude in and get a guy out, and it has to be super fast communication. That's why a lot of times you see the Packers catch teams with 12 dudes on the field, right? Because they're trying to sub out to different formational stuff, and they're just not fast enough to do it. However, if Green Bay actually does substitute, anytime the offense substitutes, the defense has to be given a chance to counter, and that's when you see the ref standing there with his hand on the center's butt, just telling him, hey, you can't snap it yet, whatever. Okay, so the Packers are incredibly good at using different formations to trap the defense out of the personnel that they have on the field. So let's take a look here. We've got Jamal Williams right here. My apologies there. We got Jamal Williams right here, and he's out wide. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that's Williams. So this is a 10 personnel look where you have 4 receivers and 1 running back, right? So for the Bears on a 3rd and 4, this is MVS's long touchdown. On a 3rd and 4 look here, they've got the Bears trapped, and we're going to see that right here. Boom. They've got a defensive lineman right here, that dude who's got the arrow on top of his head. They got a defensive lineman still on the field right now, but they're in a nickel look. They're trying to get to nickel so that they can actually cover an empty formation. Okay, so you're going to watch all sorts of confusion here as this rolls. They're saying come off, now they're saying stay on. You see the D-line coach right here waving him, hey, you have to stay on, you have to stay on. Well, the problem with keeping that extra D-lineman in a nickel look is now you're in man coverage across the board, but yo, you don't have a safety in at all. So we're going to take a look at this and watch how this play develops. Now you're straight cover 0, man-to-man across the board. The one lone safety is man-to-man with a 12-yard cushion on Devontae Adams right here. So that means that your former robber linebacker right here, Danny Trevathan, what he was going to do is try to play that low hole underneath everything. But because there's no more high safety, because everybody else here, and here, they're all in man-to-man coverage, well, that means that the Bears are just quite simply out of dudes. And that means MVS is in a foot race with a linebacker. That is super simple. I mean, that's brilliance. It's simplicity, but that's the brilliance of it. That's the beauty of it, is just how simple it all is. Let's watch it from the end zone view here, the wide angle, because all of a sudden, boom, they are in empty. Now this dude is just going nuts, right? You got, in a nickel look, you usually only have 3 down linemen. This dude never got off the field, right? Too many linemen in dime and nickel means that, yo, you have no safety. Okay, so he's like, well, I'm not going to be able to sub in time. And you can see Aaron Rodgers he's just like smiley facing this thing, man. He's just like, yeah, I love this. Because he knows for a fact he's going to have man coverage here to here. That's a mismatch anywhere. I am not a fast dude, and I might be a man coverage mismatch for an inside linebacker. Not because I'm faster than him or anything, but because look where he starts this cadence. He starts head up over the guard. Now he's got to fly and funnel out, wall this off, and then try to carry that thing vertical. There's no way in the world that's ever going to happen. So that's just layups. It's just layups. They're just so much smarter than everybody else on the field. I absolutely love it. It's brilliant what they do. It really, truly is. Now, for any and all of you who might have seen some of my videos earlier where I was kind of slamming Lucas Patrick in that Panthers game because the Panthers did a great job picking on him, well, this is kind of my apology tour to him, and I'll show you why it happened so well for him in this game, and a lot has to do with Billy Turner playing left tackle, so we'll go through that in just a moment. But I want you to watch this dude. Watch Lucas Patrick here, right guard, and watch Rick Wagner, the right tackle. Now I know I have a bunch of crazy scribbles on this screen, my apologies, but this is simply a play called duo, okay? They're going to run what's called duo left, where the entire offensive line is just blocking inside zone, and they're going to change the path of the running back to really put this guy, that inside linebacker, in a whole world of trouble. So what they're going to do here, let me get rid of that, is they're going to ask the tight end on the right side to simply block that D end out. Then these two dudes here, Patrick and Wagner, are going to double team this down lineman to that linebacker. Same thing here. You're going to get a big double team to that linebacker, and as long as Billy Turner here, left tackle, can wall off that defensive end, now all of a sudden in the low red zone, out of an 11 personnel or a relatively light look, you're going to get two giant double teams right at the point of attack. Now watch this dude right here. Watch Lucas Patrick as he walls that double team, and Rick Wagner does a great job coming in. Lucas Patrick is going to be still engaged on this and torque his back so that he can get a piece of this linebacker. He's going to end up blocking two. Aaron Jones can just go through, sneak through, and hit that hole. Now, Mercedes is getting blown back a little bit. As long as he's getting blown back and he's not allowing a crossface, which is why he's super heavy on this shoulder, then look at this lane. I mean, yeah, you can run through that in the NFL. That's so good. But another thing to consider here, let me get to a clean screen for you, is the simple fact that the Bears have the Packers outnumbered in the box. You can't block them all with the offensive line and that attached tight end. Okay, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then an overhang cutback player for 7 dudes in the blocking scheme. The Packers have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blockers. So it's 6 on 7. So this now falls to your quarterback, and he's going to do a great job with his first 2 steps after that mesh. Because this dude right here, this overhang, has to respect the fact that Aaron Rodgers has the ability to disconnect from this run and pull it out. So Rodgers is actually technically reading this. This is a duo read look where if this dude were to crash really hard in and try to plug this hole, Rodgers just pulls that and walks into the end zone right over here. Okay? But thankfully that didn't happen. Thankfully for 12, he doesn't have to take any unnecessary hits. Aaron Jones goes in untouched because the right side of that offensive line is just straight up moving people. Great to see you, Marshall. I'm glad you're here. Duo is a mixture of zone and power, right? You're absolutely right. What duo is, buddy, is inside zone for the offensive line with a power look for the running back. So usually on inside zone left, we have the running back follow the center and take any of the holes that should appear here. The problem is, with their alignment right here with this backside inside linebacker, he's probably going to scrape to that hole before Patrick can get up. So the Bears did a really nice job taking a look at this, the Packers did a really nice job taking a look at the Bears alignment here and here and knowing, hey, instead of running inside zone, I can just tell the line to run inside zone. I'll tell Aaron Jones to run duo, and he's going to sneak right through there. So that's awesome. This is absolutely incredible stuff. This is next level stuff. The simplicity of their offense, but always doing the right thing at the right time, is just gorgeous. Now, I also, in the Billy Turner video and also in the Lucas Patrick videos I've done, I've shown you a whole lot of manslide protection. Okay, and the Packers absolutely love manslide protection. They do a great job of it. So what manslide is in this particular look is because the defensive tackle here is lined up to the inside of Elton Jenkins, your left guard. What that's going to do is make a big old slide to the right. All these linemen are sliding to the right, except for Billy Turner. He's just going to take this dude one-on-one. Okay? What that's going to do is open up the door for Patrick. Patrick and Lindsley right here are going to double team this nose. If this nose happens to cross the face of Lindsley, he's Lindsley's and Lindsley's only. Patrick doesn't have to worry about him. Now this allows them to be 2-on-2 here for the potential rushers they have. So Patrick is good here, Wagner is good here. Bears are trying to play a little game and trying to confuse them by dropping Khalil Mack out into coverage on Jamal Williams. That opens up Lucas Patrick, and watch what he's going to do. He's going to come off of his blocker here, and he's going to try to cut. Now it looks like a failed block, and it actually is. It's kind of a failed block. He didn't get a piece. Rodgers was able to get that out quick. But the reason that I bring that up and the reason that I put this into this film study is because watch this play. Same thought process, right? Manslide protection. The only difference is now Elton Jenkins has to go backside to account for this dude so that Billy Turner can account for this dude, okay? But it's still slide to the right. Now watch what Patrick does here. We're in what we call an overload for our offensive line. We have 3 blockers right here for their 2 rushers. If this dude were to fold in, then we'd be 3-on-3 and we'd still be good. But the cool thing about going 3-on-2 here is watch Patrick's head right now. He's engaging, but he also understands that Rick Wagner's going to need help. So he comes off of this block and road grades Khalil Mack. Frig off, Khalil Mack. You go sit down. That is a thing of beauty. And I said it in my Billy Turner video as well, but good God, look at this ball that Rodgers throws. Over the head of a robbing linebacker, but drops it right into the breastplate of Daphne, so it's an easier catch, so dude doesn't have to go way up here and try to catch it above his head, because he may or may not be athletic enough to do that. I don't know, but Rodgers is fading to his left, too, while doing that, so sorry, that's just a little fanboy moment from me. I'm sorry I got sidetracked there. I'm going to take 1 second here and check the comments. My apologies. They ran duo again midfield as well, I believe. Yeah, I saw a lot of duo this game, Marshall, which is awesome. It's a great change up to inside zone. Adam's got a lot of guys open this game. That is a great point, Lee. Thank you, Ryan Pack Daddy, for reminding about the questions. If you have any questions, throw them in. I'm going to try my best to kind of multitask and get to them. So, why doesn't the mic crash the pocket? Is it to respect the deep throw? That's a great question. I'm going to show you the mic back here when we get to a clean screen away from all my scribbles. What the mic has to do here is because they're in man coverage and knowing that that is likely going to cross the face, they have to man replace. So as soon as 49 Daphne goes in, 59 is no longer there and he's looking to rob out here, which means this is a pass off. This is what we call catch man. So now 55's got to take him man. 55 still got his eyes locked in here though. He's a little bit late. He's thinking Daphne's coming across on the drag route. He's guessing and he's wrong. And as soon as he guesses wrong, Rodgers knows it, puts it over the top of him and right into the bucket. It's just gorgeous. It is offense at its absolute best. It's just gorgeous. Lee, you're absolutely right. That's a great observation, my man. Adams will get Daphne open because he's going to command the over-the-top safety in man coverage. And as soon as you have an over-the-top safety there, yeah, you bet that sucker's going to be open. I'm going to do my best now, guys. Forgive me. I'm going to try to switch a screen here a little bit. Oh, there's my mug. You don't want to see that. I'm going to try to switch my screen out a little bit so that I can get to some more footage of the game, and we can go through in a play-by-play kind of, hey, I remember this play, what did it look like type of thing. That way, hopefully we can go through and take a look at some questions. Also take a look at some of the punt coverage that was shored up very well in this game, which is a welcome sight for you Packer fans, I know. And then obviously if you have any questions above the ones that I've already kind of taken a look at, please feel free to drop them in there. So I'm going to try to get into Game Pass now, and I'm going to go ahead and stream that sucker back up. Here we go. Perfect. So it's actually working now. One of the big personnel changes I saw in this game that was absolutely lovely was the simple fact that you went A.J. Dillon and Jamal Williams with your wings, and then you were able to keep your personal protector up. So I know a lot of people in the Packer fan sites, a lot of people on Packer Reddit, all that sort of stuff, have a real problem with Oren Burks. Number 42, yeah, he's not done a great job as far as I'm concerned. And also, you were struggling in the absence of Jamal Williams. You were struggling to find a right wing right here, this dude. You were struggling to find a replacement for that until you found Allen Lazard. And once you put Lazard out there, you were golden. But obviously, you don't want to use your starting slot receiver as much as possible. So watch the job that these two wings do right now as opposed to the job that we've seen earlier from guys like Oren Burks. This is why J.K. Scott all of a sudden has enough time to get this thing away. Look, the Bears are bringing heat. Okay, they're showing 8. They definitely want to start to get to the punter and see if they can flip this game with a block kick or a big play. So they're going to show 8 and bring 7, and they do an unbelievable job with the wings here. I'm going to slow it down for us. Unbelievable job setting the depth of the pocket here and here. So 28 and 30 are going to set the depth of the pocket for that punt. And the whole reason you do that is not to block these dudes perfectly. It's to make them go the long way. If they got to go the long way to get to the kick, they're never going to get there in time. So the first punt of the game, I saw that and I'm like, yo, they're on it now. Way to go. Like they're actually doing some real advanced type of football stuff, which is, about time. I say advanced because it's advanced for me as a high school coach, but in the NFL, this should be normal stuff. Personnelling your best players on special teams is normal stuff. And J.K. Scott saw no pressure, in the 2 punts that he got away. Excuse me again, I'm going right to the comments here to check out some questions. Marshall, they were going back to that previous Daphne touchdown. They were running what's called a one shell, or they had one high safety and everybody else was in man coverage underneath it, trying to get an extra defender in on the pass rush to Rodgers. Good question, though. They were running one high, cover one. Do I think LaFleur should be coach of the year? Travis, that's a great question. It's a little bit loaded. Now, I love everything that LaFleur does with this offense. I love Stenovich. I love Butkus, your 2 offensive line coaches. I think what we're witnessing right now is miracles in motion for this Packers offense. But if I say LaFleur should be coach of the year, then I'm taking a look at 31 other coaches that I haven't dove into as much as I have as the Packers. So, bit of a loaded question for me, and I'm going to say he should most certainly be in the top 3 running just from the little bit that I've seen. But it's awesome what he's doing. Detail on the kick blocking issues you mentioned before. Yeah, I'm going to get into, Marshall, I'm going to get into just a little bit of the extra point and field goal stuff and why I think it's going to definitely be a problem. We can take a look at that next. I just want to make sure I'm getting at all the questions here. Lee, how do you think the inside linebackers did this game? Dude, great question. I think the play of the inside linebackers allowed you to have the play that you saw from the defensive line. And I'll show you what I mean here before I actually forget that sort of stuff. Excuse me, get a little frog in my throat here. I want to show you this. This Pierce kid came in and tried to run a little bit of zone stuff as well. I don't know if he's a backup running back or what for the Bears, but he came in and tried to run a little bit of zone. So as soon as I get to the end zone view, I'm going to go ahead and freeze it and full screen it so I can show you. So here's Pierce, and they're going to try to run a little bit of the Packers stuff, essentially, out of 11 personnel shotgun type of look, which is strange for the Bears. They like Trubisky a lot more underneath center. But let me show you, first of all, this gorgeous little play call that Mike Pettin has on. And then, second of all, show you why these 2 dudes right here, 58 and 51, allow this defensive line up front to play just so free. So what's going to happen here is they're going to actually bait the give. And by bait the give, I mean the Bears are going to run the exact same action that Aaron Rodgers ran on the goal line when Aaron Jones got in. Okay, so Trubisky has the option here to, instead of hand it off to Pierce, to keep that ball as long as he's reading this defender. But number 52 does an unbelievable job here of what we call squeezing and settling. When he squeezes and settles and he is looking right at that quarterback and not diving and crashing down the line of scrimmage to try to get a play on the running back, then what he's doing is he's dictating. He's making absolutely damn sure that Mitch Trubisky cannot hand this ball off. Okay? If Mitch Trubisky cannot keep this ball, he's making sure that Trubisky has to hand this ball off. Okay? Because when he's sifting like that, he's trying to get them to hand the ball off into the pressure that's going to come from this side. And watch this little loop stunt here from 51 and 55. 55 is going to start to creep in late towards the snap count. He's going to creep in late, and he's going to cross the face of 74, the right tackle. So he's going to drag the tackle with him. So now 51 is going to be an unblocked defender who's going to come and wrap. Watch what he's going to do here. They're essentially wasting the right guard because you have 55 crashing into B gap. Now the right guard has no chance of getting to 51. This is a gap exchange here. So what are you going to do if you're Mitch Trubisky and this Pierce kid right now? You've done an unbelievable job clogging up the middle and eating your double teams. See that? That's a wall. You can't get through there. You've got a little crash stunt towards the running back side, but Trubisky has to hand that ball off because he's got a defender right here waiting in his grill if he does pull it. So he's got to hand that sucker off. 51 is here holding C gap. You got 55 holding B gap. And oh, by the way, we're going to bring a late nickel into the picture just to make sure he can't bounce that sucker outside. Unbelievable play call here. Very well done, very well scouted by Mike Pettin. But the original question was the linebackers. And let me show you their jobs here. 58 is going to have to run man coverage against 85. If 85 stays into block, 58 can crash. If 85 goes out, then he's got to follow him. So 58, I believe that's Kirksey. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, he's got to go where 85 goes. 85 goes out, perfect, you're in man coverage. And then the loop by 51 with the crash by 55 is just glorious. That's gorgeous. That's an unbelievable play. It's a great play call, and it's well executed by them for a loss of 1. There's literally nothing the Bears could do on that play. It's just, it's defense at its purest. It's beautiful. The inside linebackers, I thought, especially when Trubisky was in gun, had a great day. They're a little bit susceptible to play action yet, and that's to be expected, I guess. Out of inside linebackers, if they're going to be weak at something, you want them to be weak at play action. You want them to be downhill and violent into the line, plugging up the run first. Because if you're a defense that can't stop the run, your defense is going to lose a whole lot of ball games. So you want them kind of nosy into the line of scrimmage and then to be late reactors in play action. Okay? So I thought they were a little bit too nosy in play action, but again, these are really young guys if I'm remembering what you guys are saying correctly. So if they're going to go ahead and be that young, yeah, let them go ahead and default to any of that play action stuff. Sure, go ahead and stop the run first. I love it. Kevin King kind of got picked on a lot due to his soft coverage. Was it as simple as him playing really off, or was there more to the Bears' success when passing his direction? There is a great question. Let's go take a look at some of that stuff where he did kind of get picked on a little bit, and I'll show you why. A little bit has to do with scheme, and a little bit is Kevin King. You know, the Bears definitely identified that he was the one that they wanted to pick on, and so they used formation to make sure that they could get the soft coverage towards his side. So what the Packers are doing is playing what's called a divorced coverage right here, and I'm going to pause it to you. Okay, so you have your one lone safety way over here, and he's over the single receiver. So a lot of times what offenses try to do is put trips to one side, and we have trips right here. So we have the tight end here and these two dudes off. They try to put trips to one side, and especially if they bury it into the boundary. If they put trips into the boundary here, that means they're trying to get their stud dude one-on-one. So what they're doing here is trying to get it to, I believe that's Robinson up there, and try to get their stud dude one-on-one so that the defense overcompensates to the trip side. But the Packers were too smart for that, so they played a divorced coverage, which means they held the single high safety here, and he can simply read number 1. He can read this receiver number 1 to the field side. If the receiver does anything other than go vertical, then he can go play middle of the field, and he can rob a post and that sort of stuff, okay? If this receiver does go vertical, they're going to bracket cover it, meaning the cornerback is going to stay underneath it, and he's going to stay over the top, and they're going to essentially take that receiver away. It's Bill Belichick stuff from, you know, the early 2000s when the Patriots made their crazy runs. Okay, but because you have 2 over 1 here, and you still have an outside backer, or actually a nickel in this case, and an outside backer on the line, well, obviously that puts you down a little bit here on the trip side. So they're just going to go ahead and play what's called off man. Kevin King is looking into the backfield here, but his inside alignment, see how he's kind of apexing these 2 receivers, or standing in between these 2 receivers? He's playing what's called off-man coverage. So he's going to take the deeper release of these 2 coverages here until that his flat gets threatened. So you see a little wheel route by number 17 here. I'm going to slow it down so we can all see it. You're going to see a little wheel route, and 17 isn't really looking to run the wheel. Okay, he's going to run the wheel, and Trubisky will throw it to him if Kevin King comes up on this. But Kevin King actually did his job really well here. So Kevin King stays on top of the wheel route to ensure that the short throw happens, and then once that throw happens, he's got to evade the coming block from 17 and go make a play in space. And that's a really hard thing for a corner to do. It's a great hustle by this kid, forcing it back to Kevin King. I believe that's Savage, who had an unbelievable freaking game, you guys. I hope you truly understand how blessed you are to have a couple of safeties like Amos and Savage, because oh my God, the things you could do defensively with those dudes. Like, for instance, you can play some of this. You can play divorced coverage and literally be a man down to the trip side, force them to make the short throw and complete it for what? 5 yards, 6 yards? Like, if they want to try to go down the field throwing hitches and pivot routes for 5 and 6 yards, perfect, let them. You know they're going to get impatient and make a mistake sometime. So it's a great question, Marshall, asking about, you know, was he being picked on? A little bit, but some of it still had to do with scheme. You know, you're not going to pick on Jair. You can scheme Jair to be one-on-one, or you can scheme him with some help over the top and then eventually get to a post look with that safety, but for the most part, you're going to try to scheme your best player against Kevin King. And I thought Overall, Kevin King held up pretty well, except for that one really deep shot to Mooney where I got a little frustrated with him watching the game. And it's funny when I get frustrated because I literally shouldn't care less. I'm not a Packer fan, but I did get a little frustrated watching that deep shot to Mooney. So we can go ahead and take a look at that one that kind of set him up, excuse me, for that. And I'll show you why, I guess why that worked or why it all went down that way. As long as I can find it. My apologies here. It was a deep shot that they ended up scoring on, I believe. So let's go find a touchdown for him right here. That's a field, or maybe it was a field goal. I'm not quite sure. My apologies here. It's going to take me a little while to find this stuff as I didn't have it previously queued up. But as soon as I find that big play to Mooney, we'll take a look at why I was kind of frustrated by it and why I didn't think that Kevin King did his job correctly. So right here it is. We're going to watch, let me get up to the widescreen, there we go. We're going to watch this play develop out of what's called stack. And stack is something that offenses do when they think that you're going to get pretty physical up here at the line of scrimmage. And this number 39, Chandon Sullivan, has shown me nothing but physical play, and I like that. So as we're taking a look at the, oh, my apologies, I'll get it full screen here for you guys. As we take a look at it now, they're going to motion out of stack to ensure that they get that one look on it, that they get the inside release from the receiver. And what the Packers are doing right now is simply playing cover 3, which means these guys have all of these dudes down here, and you can do whatever you want with these linebackers and nickel players, okay? These dudes are going to do a bevy of coverage options here. They could all be hook flat, or they could be flat curl, or slant curl, windows, whatever, okay? But the big thing about cover 3 is you've got a cornerback right here for this deep third of the field. So essentially, just outside the numbers to the sideline, that's his deep third of the field that he's responsible for. Then, middle of the field is taken by this safety, and I believe that's Savage. And then the same thing over here for Kevin King. He's going to have just outside the numbers to the sideline as his deep third of the field. And he's got to just stay on top of everything. So right here, we can see off of play action, and it's a long boot, and you're actually cracking on the inside with Robinson because they had to protect the boot somehow because 91 and 55 were doing a great job of scraping boot. So Robinson had to come in and crack 91. But all Mooney's going to do is just run a post here. Okay, so he's going to run a little shake move here, and for some reason right here, this is what killed me. Absolutely killed me. At no point in time should Kevin King be looking back right now, and especially over that shoulder. What should be happening is as this little skinny post is happening, 26 here, Savage, should be staying on top of it, which he is. Kevin King should be on the outside hip of this receiver, pushing him to that safety. Then when that ball goes in the air, Kevin King should stay on top of the route, and that should allow Savage, number 26, to undercut it and pick it off. And it just, where are you going, Kevin King? You've literally left your dude one-on-one. You should have had double coverage there. That should have been the easiest thing in the world. 26 or 28, whoever that is, should have had a pick because 20 should have been over the top of it. Yeah, you should feel bad and help him up, buddy. It's your fault. Bad decisions feel bad. You should be getting your tail chewed in the film room. Watch this on the end zone. This is the one that just kills me, man. Trubisky's got all the time in the world to flip his hips, and he's still got to throw off his back foot. Like, where are you? There's no threat out there, bro. There's literally nothing going on out there. You had no flat. You had no wheel route coming out the back because you literally watched number 12, the only person who could have run a wheel route, have to go ahead here and block. So why are you out here looking that way? You should be funneling a post to your safety. And I'm sorry I'm getting all worked up. I do it all the time when I watch bad play, but that's disappointing. Definitely don't want that. My apologies. I forgot all about the comments again. Yes, Kenny, that play, that inside zone play, Kenny is a monster. Now, his numbers are down a little bit, Kenny Clark's, but it's all because of the way that this defense is starting to be allowed to play. If he's eating double teams, yeah, he's not going to get a ton of tackles and a ton of sacks, but he is going to free up those linebackers like we saw, so great. Are linebackers considered DBs in Tampa coverage? They're read that way by the quarterback for sure. So when those Tampa coverage is when the two inside linebackers bail way out. They bail way deep out. Actually, I'm going to show you Tampa right here on my whiteboard just so I can show you how exactly it looks, and then we'll get right back to film. Okay, but in a Tampa set, it's called Tampa 2 because it's really cover 2 that can bend into cover 4, okay? And you usually only see it in 10 or 11 personnel sets, okay? So the blue are the Bears, or the offense in this scenario, and then right here in the red, we're going to put the defense. And it's usually run out of the forefront, which is kind of cool because that's what Green Bay was doing a lot of with an outside backer and an outside backer. And then they'd use a nickel and a dime, cover guy here. Now, obviously, we have the look that can give us 8 in the box with the 2 corners, and then we can put a free safety up here. And what Tampa does, so in this look, in this cover 3 look, if this were to happen and this corner actually wrote it like I was just yelling at Kevin King for doing, then the M or somebody could come out here and run a wheel route. And that's the cover 3 killer is post wheel, right? But we didn't see that previous play. We saw the M have to come in here and crack that end, so he obviously wasn't going out on a route. That's when Kevin King should have carried over the top, okay? But Tampa 2 is really nice because it can give that kind of same coverage look pre-snap, and then this safety just bails over here. And then he's responsible for this deep quarter, okay? This corner is responsible for that quarter, the single high safety is responsible for that quarter, and then this Mike will bail way deep, and he's responsible for this quarter, and then the corner is responsible for this. So it can look like a cover 3 type of look where you're going to call your cover 3 beater if you're an inexperienced quarterback, but actually what's going to happen is you're going to bait them into throwing some of this stuff, right? Because this is the route combo that we said beats cover 3. Well, now it's definitely not going to beat cover 4. You got a Mike dropping right into your post window, so that sucker's going to get robbed. That ain't open. You got a corner who can now stay on top of the wheel. Literally, whatever you do here, if you want to try to mirror this, or whatever you do, you should have it covered. Cover 4 is a really nice, I know a lot of people call it prevent defense, but it's not. It really isn't, because look at what you can do here. You can flat to pressure, you can flat to pressure, and you can still get a whole lot of your really nice looking stuff here for pressure with keeping that dude for that dude. So cover 4 isn't necessarily a prevent defense, okay? It is most certainly, you can bring a ton of pressure out of it. Like we saw here, we can bring 7 and still play cover 4, or we can bring 4 and play cover 4, okay? It all depends on what you want to do with your flat and hook curl zones. But that's what I'm talking about with that Tampa defense, is sending a Mike back and sending him at the snap, okay? Don't give him any reads, just tell him, stay on top of anything that comes into this area, okay? And then you have all your help around it. So great question. We're going to go back to the film because I'm sick of seeing my face. But great question, Marshall. Super appreciate that. You're right. It wasn't a touchdown, Marshall. Not on that play. They'd score later. Or it was a field goal. My apologies. Either way, you don't want to give up 53-yard completions to number 11 or 17 or whoever that is, all because your cornerback was just peeking and he was wrong. So, please keep dragging him. I think he'll get it together in the playoffs. Sorry, Murray. I get mad when I see poor football play. And to be fair, I get mad at like everybody on the Packers at times. Like I get mad at everybody when I just sit down and watch football. Like that's not how you're supposed to do it. So it's not just that I'm picking on King. It's not just that I'm picking on Burks or Turner or somebody. I mean, 2 weeks ago I was really mad at Patrick, and then a couple of days ago in film study I was ready to burn your whole special teams unit down. So I mean, it is what it is. It's just what coaches do. They get mad and then they get over it. Marshall says it looked like a similar concept to their pick against the Bears in their first meeting this year. Exactly right. Yep. That's the way that should look. If you want to run a post against cover 3, you better have something coming out the back door. And the second that Kevin King saw that number 12 Allen Robinson was staying into max protect, he should have been all over that. Mitch should have been throwing into double coverage blindly, but he wasn't. That sucks. What were some of the issues you saw with the 2 D tackles that you mentioned? Yeah, great question. Let's actually get to that next. This is a really, really frustrating thing for me. I mean, it's a glorious thing for me if I'm an offensive line coach, but a frustrating thing for me to watch if I'm a defensive-minded individual, which I'm usually not. But we're seeing a lot of short yardage situations where, third and short, fourth and short, something like that, where the Bears were able to pick them up relatively easily, and it frustrated me. So let's take a look at Trubisky's sneak here. And I know you guys are all going to get mad about the false start by the right guard, and it certainly was, like, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, this should have been taken care of here. First of all, you've got the wrong dudes in, and this is where I'm going to get real mad, okay? Because we'll see them fix it later on, and it's just a personnel thing. It's what we call KYP, or know your personnel. As we run it from the end zone look here, you have 95 in, who is, I believe, Tyler Lancaster, and then you have 94 Dean Lowry in. So you got a couple of dudes here who are not your dominant defensive linemen. And then for some reason, you have your dominant defensive lineman right here, Kenny Clark, on a 3-tech, which means he's head up to outside shade of this guard. No, that's not how you play short yardage situations. Every defense has a short yardage package called the pork package or beef package or whatever you want to call it, where this dude lines up over nose, or right head up over the center, and what he's taught to do is attack the center's snap hand. Think about it. The center has to snap the football, especially under center. This is great. The center has to snap the football, then try to bring his hand all the way back up to engage a blocker. So you get your crazy fast, crazy strong dude on him in short yardage situations, and you attack his snap hand. The second you see that football move, you're getting into his chest because he can't possibly bring his arm up in time and still deliver a good snap to block you. Tyler Lancaster, I'm sure he's a great kid. I'm sure his parents love him to death. He's not that dude. He is not Kenny Clark. So if you're going to keep Kenny Clark in a 3-tech, you better get somebody fast here that's not going to get bowled over and double teamed like Lancaster will, like Lowry will. Okay? These guys get blown off the line right here, and Trubisky picks up the sneak. You've got Lancaster submarining, which take it as you will. Like that's always been a frustrating thing for me. Like, put the kid up, let him try to play football. Don't just have him dive at the center's feet, because then literally all the center has to do is lay on him, and Trubisky goes over the top of him, which is what happens right here. Okay, so that's a frustrating thing for me. But the most frustrating thing is, why are you putting your dominant dude in a position to get blown off of B gap in a short yardage situation? Kenny Clark should be at nose in that. This is where you should bring in that big I always forget his last name. The Snacks kid that you just picked up from Seattle, and he should be playing Kenny Clark's D-tackle spot. So I'm going to show you a 4th down situation again where they had a very similar look, and the Packers snuffed it out with the pork package. So this is like, I believe it's the next drive. Okay, it's a 4th and short situation again. And now look at this personnel. So at least they fixed it, right? Because they're calling, without a doubt, like as I was watching this live, I saw Trubisky up here pointing things out, which means without a doubt they wanted to go under center here in 11 personnel, and they wanted to sneak it again. But then they saw this dude's big old hiney right up over nose, and now you got Kenny Clark and Dean Lowry. So finally you get your pork package in. Okay, you do a great job there, and then Trubisky backs out of the play. We didn't catch it on film. It didn't start soon enough, but Trubisky has to back out of the play, and then he's going to actually check to a throw, and it's an unbelievable job by this Sullivan kid and by 23 Alexander, where they're going to make it look like, hey, you're going to have this throw and roll game, but buddy, you never had this throw. They are way too smart. It looks like Chandon Sullivan breaks this up, and he does. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's a great play by 39. Yeah, you want to see the pick, but he does a great job of jumping this route. But it all works because of this kid right here. This 23 kid, like, I'm telling you, he's something special. If there's ever anybody who is even close to the same planet, same stratosphere as Charles Woodson, it's this kid right here. And you want to see why? It's because he's so smart. He's not just physically gifted, which he is. He's not just violent and aggressive, but he is. Okay, he's just so smart. So he's going to read this route by Jimmy Graham. And you tell me if number 80 is actually truly going deep on a seam route, or if he's just trying to run you off. Look at that lazy route. Dude is doing nothing here. Okay, that is a lazy route. That's going nowhere. Alexander feels that, squeezes that. He knows he can come over the top of 12. So what he's doing right now is yelling off, off, off. Meaning I'm coming off. We've got this 26 kid here, Savage, to come over the top. If Trubisky sees it, he can go ahead and cover the top of the seam. It's probably completed, but it's not a touchdown. But what Alexander's doing is calling off, off, off. What off means is now Chandon Sullivan is free to jump this route. This is wildly unselfish football. The second he gets the off call, he's able to get underneath this, knowing even if he misses that ball and it's completed, you've got the dude coming right behind you, number 23, over the top of 12, to go ahead and make that play. This is such unselfish football by this kid right here. And this is a little bit of my struggle with PFF grades, is I don't know if any of that is ever taken into account. I don't know if these guys, and it's just ignorance on my part because I don't know how it's being graded, and I don't know if they truly look into the scheme of things or just say, hey, he hasn't had any completions on him, okay? But this is, 39 gets the play, and good job by him, but that's all 23 there. That is a gorgeous freaking defensive play. 26 over the top, 23 with the off call means 39, you get to go get the pass breakup. So, I love that type of look, and I love going at it with your big dudes. Okay, get that snacks dude in. Harrison, thank you for that. Get that snacks dude in, then I'm fine with Kenny Clark being there. It's not a Tyler Lancaster type of role, but it is what it is. I'm not the D coordinator. I'm going to get back to the questions here because they're kind of blowing up. My apologies on that. If I'm missing your questions right now, guys, I truly apologize. I got a little sidetracked. I was going to take a look at the 2D tackle question, and I got a little sidetracked on that stuff. So we will get back to it. Snacks Harrison, thank you for that. Thank you, Deck, for the compliments. I appreciate it. Yeah, Murray, he does a little bit of weird stuff, but Jair is that dude. I mean, Jair is just the dude. And your secondary is actually really starting to click. I know I was just literally just dragging Kevin King a little bit earlier, but he is not a bad player. He would be the #1 corner on probably half the teams in the NFL, just from the film that I've watched of him. He's not bad. But in this group, he's the worst of the best, and that's going to always get you criticized because you're not as good as Amos. You're not as good as Savage. You're definitely nowhere near King. And this Sullivan kid, I'm telling you, for the few liabilities he has in coverage, and he has a few, this kid is violent. I mean, he plays like he's 290 pounds with the quickness and the speed of somebody who's 180. So I love it. The reason that the Bears had to get away from a lot of their play action game where they were starting to drag that tight end into the flat like we saw a lot in the beginning of the game was the play of 39. I mean, he'll go meet a tight end. He'll meet a Cole Kmet or somebody like that, head up, face up into him, and he'll make it a tough day for him. And you got to learn to appreciate guys like that. I really, really like that dude. Travis asked, did we see any more Jair plays? Ton of them. Ton of them, and it's progression type stuff, and I can take you through it as soon as we get through the field goal extra point liabilities, but it's progression stuff, so it's not stuff that's actually showing up as like a pass breakup or something like that. But when Trubisky was in gun and he's trying to go through his 1 to 2 to 3 progressions, I mean, it got to the point midway through the third quarter as I'm watching the end zone where he's not even looking at the #1 progression anymore. Like, he was not looking Jair's way. And it's simply because he assumed that it was locked down. So at the beginning of the game and through like midway through the third quarter, he's still trying to make his 1 to 2 to 3 progression looks out of the gun. It's just not happening. By the end of the game, he wasn't even peeking over at 23 anymore. So that's the type of stuff where you've essentially shut down a quarter of the offense's abilities, which is unbelievable. It's Richard Sherman like back in the Legion of Boom. It's incredible. But as promised, let's take a look at some of their kicking liabilities. I get really, really nervous. I'm being honest with you. They are going to probably have a field goal or an extra point blocked in the playoffs at some point in time if they keep this scheme up. So we're going to go right to the end zone stuff on it. And they didn't have one blocked this game, which is good, but there are liabilities, you guys. There are tremendous liabilities here. First and foremost, let's just take a look at football from a numbers standpoint, because this is what Tennessee did. This is what Carolina did. You knew damn well the Bears were going to come and do this, right? The defense here is absolutely overloaded to the field side or the wide side of the field. And it doesn't matter what hash you're kicking from if you're Green Bay, okay? You saw this both sides. Wherever the field was, the defense was going to overload to that side. What overload means is you got 1, 2, 3, 4 blockers here, okay? And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rushers. What we do at a high school level, and it's super simple to do, because if you overload one side, you obviously can't overload the other side. So we just pull one of these dudes. Look, on the right side, on the short side of the field, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 dudes coming. Okay, or 4 dudes blocking for a potential 3 coming, potentially 4. But this dude, if this dude comes and this dude comes, they're not going to block the kick. They're just going to knock noggins back here, and it's going to hurt them both. Okay, so what we do is we pull a guard and we go unbalanced. So 76, you go to this side. Now we're 6 on 5, and it's not to try to block each man square up, because we're going to let this dude come. What we do when we pull a guard over and we go unbalanced is it takes the edge away, because obviously the shortest path is from here to here. It's that direct path. But if you bump them all out one, now all of a sudden you've got this Lancaster kid here. Well, now your edge, the unblocked dude, has to come from here to here. He ain't going to touch it. Okay, he ain't going to get there in time. If he gets here, if he gets home and blocks the kick from here to here, you got to fire your holder and you got to fire your long snapper. Those guys got to go, okay? But you're setting yourself up for some pretty wild games here, and I'm going to show you why. Because you're outmanned, and you're outmanned by 2, they're going to try to let the outermost guy come. But watch 95 here, this wing. He's going to try to do what Patrick actually does really, really well, but he's going to try to two-gap this, meaning he's going to keep his right leg in, and he's going to reach out long with that right leg, and he's going to try to just chip and slow him down a little bit. Okay? The problem is, when you do that sort of stuff, if the D-line has any sort of movement at all, any sort of stunt game movement, you're going to be in a wild, wild pickle because you don't have enough dudes to stop it. So the kicks are going to get blocked from the inside. Yeah, you can go down here, and down here, and you can block that out. But if you have Lancaster stepping in here while trying to chip out here, this dude's going to come through basically untouched. Okay, real quick, I know I'm getting sidetracked here, but I just want to explain myself a little bit more on this. Let's take a look at that Titans game. Excuse me. And let me show you all exactly how that kick got blocked, because it was just schemed up. Tennessee did a much better job than Green Bay in their special team scheme. There's no other way to say it. And I promise after this play, I'm going to get back to the comments. Let's turn it from broadcast to coach's room so we can actually get the end zone view. And we're going to take a look at that blocked field goal here. Right here. Okay? Now, obviously, it wasn't called blocked because it was called offsides, but I'm going to show you how the Titans actually schemed their way into this blocked kick. Dun, 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 dun. This isn't the right play. My apologies. This is a play I accidentally clicked on. We'll scroll to it, and we'll get that blocked kick here in the third quarter. Field goal is blocked right here. And then hopefully from this view, as long as it's the right play, which it is now, thankfully, okay, we're going to take a look at this and see how they schemed it up from the end zone view. So let me make this a little bit bigger for y'all. And now we're going to watch here. And obviously this is the wide side of the field now to our right, so they're kicking from the left hash. And watch Tennessee bring 6 against 4 again. Okay? What they're going to do is bring 6 against 4 and get a little stunt in. And all that stunt is going to do, or that movement by that defensive line, all that's going to do is make it so that Elton Jenkins can't block anybody. So you got 95 Lancaster and 74, they're fanning out. Now watch the giant divide it puts between 74 and 71 because you're outmanned. You're out-schemed here. Look at that. He is rushing through free because the left guard, the right guard and the right tackle had to go down, the extra tackle had to go out, and the wing had to go out. There's a division at C-gap, and you can run through C-gap. That's not hard to do. You can block a kick from the C-gap. It's a lot harder to block it from like the freaking F-gap. Let this guy go. Don't even touch him. He ain't covering all that ground in this kick, okay? Block here, come up, head up, come up, head up, come up, head up, and block here. Let these two dudes try to take the long angle. They're not going to get there in time. However, if you give up an interior gap, you can absolutely block kicks. Now, whether that dude was offside or not is inconsequential because every team that the Packers could possibly face are definitely taking a look at this play and going, yo, without a doubt, we can block one on the Packers, and hopefully it doesn't come in a tight game for your Packers. All right, my apologies. Let's get back to some questions here. Murray says we rank 31st in special teams, and I don't doubt it. I'm not coming at dude's job. I'm just saying you better do a better job. No reason to apologize for the digression. That's some of the best stuff. Hey, I appreciate that, 11 Bravo. I get a little fired up, and it's not just the Packers, it's not just the Titans, it's not any of that sort of stuff. I get fired up when I see simple football that could be executed or schemed better. But as long as we're speaking of scheme, I want to go back to some of the really fun stuff you guys do as a scheme-driven offense. And obviously it helps to have the world's best quarterback ever, and it obviously helps to have the world's best wide receiver ever, and it obviously helps to have the best left tackle in the game up until, a couple weeks ago or whatever. But just the simple scheme of this is just so very intelligent. I mean, we're going to watch plays that seem inconsequential here. A.J. Dillon to the right end for 3 yards, okay? And we're going to watch how he has to be tracked down. Now, Chicago has pretty good players too, guys. I don't want to take that away from them. And this Akeem Hicks dude is super freaking good. But if you're going to ask him to do this and make plays like this, awesome. Because that means he can't plug up the middle anymore if he's got to be running laterally. So check this out. And I know there was a penalty on it for a block in the back. I think it was this play. Whatever. Watch A.J. Dillon here on the left side of your screen. He's going to cross the face, and he's going to run what's called wide zone. Now watch how far Akeem Hicks has to go, that interior defensive lineman for the Bears here, to the play side. This dude right here. Watch how far he has to travel and how he has to fight over the top of 2 blocks. Now the Bears have good players too, and you got to give them their credit where credit's due. But just imagine this is, maybe not the Bears. Say you're seeing the Saints, and they don't have Akeem Hicks, or something like that. First of all, what a wonderful double. God, your center is good at football, okay? But if this doesn't have to fly all the way out, great job by Patrick, there's your cutback lane. If that actually gets reached by somebody not named Akeem Hicks, that dude's gone, okay? This dude is just gone. So take a look at it again, okay? You have an all-pro, Pro Bowl type of player here in Akeem Hicks. And as you get this wide zone to work, Patrick's going to get that little bit of a chip so that Lindsley can work around. And if that dude isn't so fast laterally, then this sucker is going to go one-on-one with a safety. And you put A.J. Dillon one-on-one with a safety, I like your chances. I don't like that safety's chances. But at the end of the day, what plays like this do is when Akeem Hicks has to run 16 yards sideline to sideline to go make the play on the running back in the first quarter, it does 2 things. First of all, it gasses him. Okay, that sucks as a defensive lineman. It sucks running down outside zone, knowing that if I don't make this play, we're probably giving up 6 points. Number 2, it slows him down on the initial point of attack when you start running wide zone. And the Packers freaking ran wide zone and duo down the throat. They had it anytime they wanted. It's just that throwing the ball seems to be a little bit more fun, okay? But doing this little stuff, these tiny little things like calling outside zone to Akeem Hicks' side so that he has to be the force player and he has to go squeeze that and run that down, or excuse me, he has to be the spill player and run that sucker to the force player, like, that's awesome. You're killing a dude right away in the beginning of the game. He's going to get really freaking tired, and he's not going to be as fast off the ball to stop your wide zone stuff because he doesn't really know if the step coming to him is wide zone or outside zone. So it's very well done there. I love it. Yeah, let's take a look at that Daphne tackle. 49 has been impressing me. You got a couple of bright spots on your special teams. 49, 13 when he plays is most certainly a bright spot. And then your long snapper, 44, I believe is his number. I don't quite remember his name, but it doesn't really matter. That kid can play. He's got some really good gap integrity, and he gets down the field with some hustle. So appreciate that kid for sure. Let's take a look. That's a touchback. That's a touchback. I believe it's coming up shortly, I hope. Touchback. God, the Packers had the ball a long time. It doesn't look like it, but they just owned the Bears offensively. They could do anything they wanted to with it. My apologies. Let me find that kickoff. I believe it was a kickoff. I don't think it was a punt. So I'm going to go ahead and try to find that and watch 49 go be a missile. I really like that dude. Right here. All right. I'm going to get to the end zone shot of it again so we can see 49's full path of it. So we won't watch it from the sidelines, because one of the things that the Packers have been struggling on mightily in special teams is lane integrity, is gap integrity. Okay, so as these dudes spread out, they all have an individual lane. Now, some of them can be manipulated a little bit, okay? So if you're this dude right here, what we call our L4, we count from the inside out, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you're the L4, what the Packers like to do is actually wrap him around and let him go be the safety valve and then shoot this crazy son of a gun in, okay? But as we roll this thing, I want you to watch just how gap sound these dudes are, finally. Now, reminder, before we even get to the play, I want to show you where 49 initially lines up. He is your R3. He's over here on the right side of the field in the middle. Now, when the kick goes away from you, you have to squeeze up your 15 yards and then channel down to the hip of the ball carrier. You can't go where you think he's going. You can't go behind him. You have to mask his hip. Oh, by the way, when you're doing that, you have to avoid the first level block and take on the second level block so that you actually have an opportunity to eat up these blockers. Now look, kick goes away from Daphne right here. So he is screaming. Here's his fold right there. And then pow, go be violent. You bet, buddy. You bet. God, that's just gorgeous. That's gorgeous. That's how you do it. Now, I want to see a little bit better tackling technique, because this is the stuff that Kevin King tries to do that gets him in all sort of trouble. But if you're going to be like, I don't know, that dude looks like a bowling ball right now. So, yeah, you can probably take a lot of little returners down if you put a shoulder into him. I don't know, man. This is just an unbelievable play. And it all really works because you're lane integral. Now you're stacking up a little bit on this side, which I don't like. If that thing bounces back, at least you got a safety valve, but you're not supposed to be in a conga line here, okay? You should be spaced out. But this kid right here, now I always talk about the complimentary dude, right? So we saw Jair as the complimentary kid when Chandon Sullivan had that pass breakup. This dude right here, number 29, he's the complimentary kid on this hit. Watch what he does here. He takes on the block from a tight end, and he keeps his outside arm free. This outside shoulder, this outside arm is free. What that does is absolutely take away any of this kick lane. See how this right here is a double team? So if this returner is able to get around 29, he's going to the house right here on this lane. So 29 keeps his outside arm free. That tells the returner to take it up the middle. Unfortunately for the returner, he took it up to the middle, and there was an unblocked Daphne standing in his way. That is fun stuff. That is complimentary special teams, and that's not something you've seen a lot of as a Green Bay Packer fan. I got sidetracked again. I'm going to get to the comments here, or the questions. Guys, I got about 5 more minutes of this, and then unfortunately I do get a bus because my sweet, sweet little girl wants to read me a bedtime story tonight. So I am going to have to dip here pretty quickly. But LaFleur is underrated. Yo, you could make that guy coach of the year. He might still be underrated. But I'll let you guys go ahead and figure that stuff out. Matt Nagy got out-coached. On the bright side, I made the playoffs. That's funny. Like, if you're going to troll, that's the way to troll. Whoever Matt Nagy is, I appreciate you, son. That's kind of fun. 11 Bravo 12 was playing Daphne on the Pat McAfee show. He's a beast in practice and been making plays all year, for sure. Packers will make the playoffs and become the Packers and not make much noise. Ooh, now Nagy's kind of coming in a little bit. I'm okay with that. That's funny. Boo, after he scored a touchdown. Hey, Murray's clapping back. I like that. Y'all, thank you so much. This has been so much fun. I am going to try to dip out. I'm going to close up shop here. Keep some questions in mind and stuff like that. One more thing before I do go, though. First and foremost, try to make sure you're subscribed to Pack Daddy NFL YouTube channel. If you like this sort of stuff, we're going to try to do this kind of weekly. And also, we're going to try to do this in some live games so that I can kind of go through and you can put an earbud in or ask questions on timeouts and halftime and stuff. And I can try to kind of fill you in on some of the stuff I'm seeing. We're going to try to roll it out for this Ravens-Titans game, which Marshall and I are just stupid excited for because of all the GT and GT counter and bash stuff that they do with the offensive line for the Ravens. So we're going to try it out on that, and then hopefully have all the bugs and all that little stuff figured out for the Packers playoff run. So, yo, thank you so much for hanging. I certainly appreciate you guys. If you have thoughts, questions, comments on how to make this better, yo, just let me know. Appreciate you guys.